you can get sober, but as long as you have not dealt with the things that caused you to be that way, you are not free yet. And so I realized that all the bitterness, the shame, the anger, the hurt, the pain, everything, I was still carrying all those things very heavily. And to be honest, I honestly believe that I was hiding those things under God, under the name God. I'm now restored. I'm now born again. But the bitterness, the pain, the anger, all those issues were still, that energy was walking with me everywhere. And so I got to a point where I attracted a person who was carrying the same. And I fell so much in love with him. At this point, I'm of age. I need to have to get married and everything. So I attract a person who our energy connected. And I went into a relationship with this guy. Now, Jesus aside, I need to get married. I need a man. So, in fact, I quickly moved in with him. And it was a 2-year relationship with a very abusive person. But I got to study his history, and I realized that he had also grown up in very toxic environments and had hurt a lot, and he had become a narcissist, because narcissists develop that whatever because of things they have gone through. They have blocked and blocked and blocked, so you can never penetrate a narcissist, and that is what he was. And I was abused from physically to emotionally to verbally to spiritually to socially to financially. I didn't even know there was social abuse until this guy, by the time I was done with him, I realized he was my only friend. And throughout this time, he had even told me that if you were married to me, because incidentally I thought I was married, but I wasn't. If you were married to me, you would never talk to your mom the way you talk to your mom. Come to find out, this guy had even downloaded my information to the point where he knew where I swiped my card. He knew where my car was. He actually made sure we had one car, so he had to monitor me. So whenever I went to work, he had to take me to work so that he would pick me up in the morning, so that way I'm not sleeping with other people. And then even when he would drop me, he would say, you know what, you don't have to have clothes to go sleep at someone's. When I drop you to work, he can come pick you up. You don't need clothes to sleep at his place. All you need to do is to get back to work in good time for you to pick me up. So how many men are you sleeping with? And I used to look at him and think to myself, wow, I'm sleeping with men. Okay. Come to find out much later that he's the one who was doing the same. Come to find out that he had 5 women with 5 children in different continents. Plus he had one who was having a child down the street from where I was. And I got pregnant quickly when I started staying with him, because I wanted just a marriage and a husband. And the abuse was a lot. And 3 months down the line, being that pregnant, I miscarried. When I miscarried, he said, actually, I don't even think that child was mine. If you'd have had the child, you'd have had to do a DNA, because I don't trust you. And that was it. And a month down the line, the other lady got a child. So I was in his house, but he was operating 2 women. But because I wanted him so badly and wanted to make this work, remember, I am so broken. Yes, I was born again, but I'm so broken. So I just need this person to fill this void. So it's like I was sucking life out of him, and so was he sucking mine into him. So we stayed. I got pregnant again, had a miscarriage. Got pregnant again, had a miscarriage. But by that one miscarriage, I had a checkup, and I was told, you know what, you guys are not compatible, but there is a solution to that. If he was accepting, you can do this and this and that, and you can actually have children. But he was not willing. He was ready to be with the other woman, but I was insisting on being in this relationship. So by the time now I got pregnant at that time and I lost the child, that is when I decided it was time for me to break from this toxic thing that I was putting myself into. So the time that I said that I drove my patient's car is the time that now we were breaking up with him. And so after that, I was able now to get my own place, but it didn't come that easy. I was so addicted to him that I didn't even want to leave. But when I heard the lady was pregnant a second time, wow, I was like, well, I guess it's time to go. So that is what just brought an end to all the feelings and everything. Remember, I was numbing my pain to do with him with alcohol. And that's when I was able to separate myself from this person. It was not easy at all. I remember when I learned that he was having a second child, I went and got alcohol. And I drank to die. And I was like, God, I am going to drink this thing and finish it. I finished a whole bottle in one sitting, over 750 ml, just in one sitting. And I was like, if I wake up from this, then God wants me to be here. If I don't, then so be it. But then, at some point, when I had taken all of it, I felt like my body, my soul was leaving my body. And I was really scared. And I said, you know what, God, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't think I want to die. So I from that time, I asked God, exactly why do you want me to be here? I've gone through enough, you know. And it's been painful. So I took a long time of prayer and fasting and just myself and work and God. And it was a period of about 9 to 10 months just dealing with the pain. And then I landed on a YouTube channel from this one particular woman that we call Iyanla Van Zandt, that had gone through so much pain. And I went through with her, with YouTube. It's almost like a YouTube healing journey where I realized that I was drawing to myself, you know, the things that were going on inside of me. I was pulling in the same energy that I was holding in myself. So it was a time of unpacking all those things, unpacking the anger, unpacking the guilt, unpacking the pain, unpacking all these things that were ugly. I knew I needed to unpack that. So that's when I prayed. I walked through that journey of healing, and it was a painful one, and it was a tough one. And for the one that was the hardest is the one of having miscarried. I miscarried literally 4 times. One was from a previous relationship. And so at this point, I didn't want to see kids, see a pregnant woman. I did not want to hear a baby cry. I just did not want to see anything look like a child. And so I was working in a hospital where I used to work like medical surgical. And then I remember going to work and being told, no, today we do not have anything opened for you in that department, but we have mother baby. They call it mother baby, but that is labor and delivery. And I was like, no, I don't do babies. I don't work with babies. I cannot work. I would rather stay without a paycheck. And this lady, for some reason, she begged me. She was like, we don't mind you just going to help, you know. Then I'm thinking the money issue, I need the money. And I went through and I worked that department, but it was the toughest thing I've ever had to do. Because those ladies or the parents, you know, have this thing where they ask you, so you're married? No. So you have kids? No. So they will look at you different if you have never had a kid. So they want to see how you're going to have. And these babies are between 0 and 24 hours. Those are the babies I was taking care of. And so, you know, some of them would be given, especially when they had normal delivery, they don't keep them for long. And so I would help some of them go and show them how to put the baby, because they have to live with the baby seat from the hospital. I had to show them how to fix the baby seat, how to put the baby there. And so, you know, you wheel them out and then you have to put back the wheelchair. So I would go wheel the wheelchair back, go into the toilet and cry my head off because the idea of babies was tormenting me. And so that happened for a while until the supervisor called me and she was like, what is exactly going on? I had to give her my story. So she said, you know what? You're here by God's divine plan. So you can heal because God wants to give you babies. And so it was just approaching Mother's Day. And on Mother's Day, I get 4 roses. And in my mind, I'm like, I've always wanted 4 babies because we are 4 in our family. Nobody has ever had 4 babies. And I was like, yeah, indeed, I'm going to have 4 babies one day. So my process of healing was, you know, combined with a lot of things here and there. You know, this one is coming to heal this, that one is coming to heal this one is coming to heal this. And it was a very, very, very serious time in my life. And so because of my drinking and everything, getting caught up with the police and everything, I was already in the public record. And so I had to take care of court cases and do community services. I mean, there are still consequences of our choices, so I had to keep doing that. And so I was there not long after that, because 2014 is the year that I actually dedicated to God, and that is when He gave me the vision of women. And I started doing workshops for women, because what I realized is that women go through a lot of things, and especially women who drink. I was very passionate about the women who drink, because I realized the women who drink is an underlying issue. There's definitely something that is underlying. And so what I wanted is to be able to reach out and have women speak out about things that they go through. And, you know, being encouraged, I was able to talk about my rape more freely, especially when I thought about Joyce Meyer, who was raped constantly by her own father, and then had to go ahead and have such a huge ministry, multi-million ministry. And it's because she talks about rape all the time, whether you want to hear it or not. She talks about it, and it's the dad who was raping her. So someone like that, seeing a very successful woman like Oprah Winfrey also having gone through rape, you know, those are the women who just give me courage. And I was like, if they can speak and they are successful, then I can speak and I can have women heal. And so I started my workshops out there. That is the vision that God gave me. Do something for the women. So I called it the Sisters Workshop. So I started now having meetings. I had different meetings in different states. And then down the line, at some point, my dad asked, I had lost my job, and then my parents didn't think I was really doing well. So my dad demanded that I come back. But at the same time, I think God was also preparing my dad, because he was ill. And 2.5 years later, after I got back, he passed on. So when my parents demanded that I come back, basically, I had to open my home and give up all the stuff. I had gone there with 1 suitcase. I came back with 2. So basically, it was like I gained 1 suitcase, but I gained a lot of experience. And that is where God had taken me to heal me, because I knew without a doubt, if I had stayed in Kenya, I probably would not have lasted 1 more year. I would have been 6 feet under. So a lot of people think that I started drinking when I went to the US, but indeed, US is what got me, you know. So that is where my healing was prepared for me, because maybe in Kenya, I would never have been able to speak up. And I still realize that a lot of women in Kenya, they will talk to me and tell me, this is between me and you. We cannot talk about this. And I understand where they are coming from. But for me, I was rebelated. And the more I spoke about that, the more I was able to heal. And the more I did these workshops, I had things that I personally did not think that I can handle. And I'm thinking, this is so liberating for me. So as I did the workshops, I was also healing pieces that were still there. And up till this day, I still do. Because when I talk to women, I still will pick something in me that still needs to be addressed. So I did my workshops, came here, and my first show was the Kakuna, and that is where people got to know who Wanja was. And that is where I was able to get a lot of feedback. When I got a lot of feedback, I knew I got negative feedback and I got positive feedback because my parents were not necessarily impressed by the fact that I have gone out and talked about alcoholism in a family of very born-again Christians, and the extents and the extents of the depths that I went into being alcoholic. It didn't relate very well with, you know, their background and how they have served in the church. But for me, it was very liberating, and it also made parents who had children who were drinking to also come forth and know that we can actually talk about our child who's drinking, as opposed to hiding because we are Christians. It's not embarrassing because, you know, her opening up is going to make somebody heal. So I've walked through that journey of, you know, doing the workshops for women. And then I thought, when I came to Kenya, I thought to myself, why don't I do, you know, something called the Rescue Center, where women come and then they are able to talk about the issues they are going through. And it's a place that they can run to, you know, when they have things that are going on. So that is the vision that I hold. I know that it has not picked up over time because probably the COVID time, that is the time that I actually lost a home. And then I did set up another one, but the concept has still not been bought. So I decided, you know what, let me continue doing, you know, the one-on-one that I do as a counselor, and then just getting women together, talking to them, having women open up. So I still do the workshops. I have the title, The Issues in Our Tissues. And the issues in our tissues is something that I came up with because I came to learn that it is not what we are eating as women. It's not what we are eating, it's what is eating us from the inside. So that is where I got the title for my workshops, The Issues in Our Tissues. Just a nice slogan that I thought would make some little bit of sense. At some point in my life, when I came out of the rehab the first time, there was this young man in at my friend's house, the son. He just used to look at me and he's like, you know what, Wanja, your life is so dramatic, you need to write a book. And you know, he joked about it so much to a point where I actually took it literally. You need to write a book. So in the 6 months that I was able to stay at their house, I actually wrote a book. And I wrote it in the middle of the night when everybody was asleep and quiet. But if there was anything that was so traumatic, was the writing of the book, because I could write and cry so hard. I write and cry so hard. I was addressing a girl that I actually didn't know. And so after some time of, you know, I wrote the book. When I met the man who was abusing me, he actually told me, I mentioned that I had a book, a manuscript. I was just about to put it into publishing. And he said he wanted to go through it and see it. And he used to love reading books. And sure enough, he's a man I love, so, you know, why not? He read the book and he used every word to verbally abuse me after that. And he would tell me, people don't understand why I'm with someone who is as filthy as you. And he told me also that if you publish this book, 1, you'll never get a husband. Number 2, you cannot be with me. Of course, I have since denounced that you'll never get married, because I will. But the idea of he will not be with me, of course, he's gone. And so I put in the book in for publishing, and I got the title, Through the Belly of the Whale, from a preaching. I didn't even have a title when I wrote the book, but this one particular pastor who was preaching, and he was talking about the story of Jonah and how God wanted to send him, and he just wanted to run away, and so God just put him in the belly of the whale, and he was in there for 3 days, and I related my story with Jonah, because even when he went to the other side, he still had a rebellious spirit. And so I looked at my life and I was thinking to myself, I have been with God ever since I was small. Yes, things happened to me. Yes, I ran from God, but he always is trying to get me back, and I keep like running away from him. And so that is where I wrote the book, and I called it Through the Belly of the Whale. And it has like the whole story of from when I started drinking and then up till that time. Actually, it covers up to that time I was in the rehab. And that's why I'm due for another book, which is, ongoing right now. The one thing that I have learned from the series of experiences that I have gone through is that they say that a stitch in time saves 9. And so for me, out of fear, I allowed myself to hide what I was going through. So it was a series, I went on to a series of brokenness and a period of just opening doors to so many other things that would not have happened. I remember talking to my therapist, because you have to talk to a therapist when you're doing the counseling class. And, I remember her telling me, just imagine if you got that baby today, you'd be a mother of a 28-year-old son. And on top of that, you'd probably be even a grandma. And your life would be so different. And that is what I know now, that if I had made a different decision at that point in time, if I had spoken up to someone who would have guided me well, not guided me in a destructive way, then things would have been different. I probably would not know where I would be right now, but I also know that things would have been different. On the flip side, I also know that Allah, what happened to me, and covering all that, and having one particular incident destroy the rest of my life, I have become a voice to women who have gone through rape, who have been molested, women who have had abortions, women who, and there are some who I see babies right now, and it's because they approached me and said, I just want to have an abortion. And I'm like, whatever it is, whether it's a rape that happened, whether you didn't want it, whatever it is, do not abort that child. So I know my story has saved some little lives that are growing somewhere today because of my own story. And other women are healing from so many other things because of now the negative side of my story where I didn't speak about it, and then I've had to suffer all these years. I have gone through the pain on their behalf. Let me just say, I have gone through the pain on their behalf, and that's why I take it upon myself to use my story in a positive way, as opposed to what would have happened if I had resolved that problem at that point in time. But still, what I would say to people who find themselves in a situation that I was in, someone who gets raped, someone who gets pregnant from a rape case, it is never an option to have an abortion because there are so many people who want babies. I, personally, are still single, and it is related to that decision. Otherwise, it would have been different. Up till now, I don't have a child, and it's because it's all related to the same one decision that I made. Otherwise, things would have been different. But again, I am not a case of failure because I'm still alive, and because the opportunities to get married, to get children are still open, as long as God is still God. He is able to do some of these things. But in the meantime, my pain, I use it for other people's gain. These things that come to us so unprepared, especially like the issues of rape, I mean, you can never prepare yourself enough for how you can handle a rape situation. And then a rape, it's not like you will decide, anything. Every decision will come from that moment. And so I really appreciate the people who are able to keep sharing their stories over and over and over again, because even somebody who has not been in that situation themselves, when they see somebody giving a story, even if it does not relate to them in any shape or form, there is something they are going to pick from that. And in the event something like that happens to them, they exactly know what to do. Because even like people who have seen my story, and they have seen my story even before something like that happened, they have then approached me after it has happened because they need to make a decision and they need to make it quickly. So the best thing that people can do is like have a lot of knowledge, you know, be able to equip themselves with knowledge of how do I react to circumstances, and not to be in a place of just being naive. You know, knowledge is power, and ignorance is no defense. You know, there's a lot of too many resources that we can all get information from, so that we are prepared and we are equipped. Just the way, you know, when you're going into war, you have to carry the tools and the right tools. So if we don't equip ourselves with tools, we are going to be caught off guard. But if we equip ourselves with the knowledge that we need for us to be able to handle whatever situations that comes our way, it's going to be much easier for us to handle it when it comes. Yeah, without making decisions that are not going to be very destructive. I know that people see my story and they want to reach out because of themselves, a relative, a child, a family member. And so I am on social media. I'm on Facebook as Wanja Ndungu. I'm also have a YouTube channel. It's Wanja Ndungu, where there are, you know, stories there that I share in bits and pieces about depression, about, you know, different things that we go through: suicide, rape, molestation, and somebody can just go in there and subscribe. Anybody also can reach me on my number, which is 0711 392 385, 0711 392 385. And if you want a copy of my book, you can also reach me on that number, and it will get to you wherever you are. And if you're going through something, feel free to share with me without fear of judgment.
Thank you, Wanja, for such an inspiring story, and thank you for watching to the end. If you have a story you'd like to share, reach out to me through the number provided or just drop me an email. As you know, I'm passionate about creating content that adds value to your life. If you enjoy watching my videos and you'd like to support my channel, I would be incredibly grateful. There are a few different ways you can do that. One, of course, is to join my channel membership, where you can make a monthly contribution and receive some exclusive perks in return. Another option is to make a one-time donation through PayPal or Mpesa payment platform. Better still, make sure you subscribe and watch all the videos. Thank you so much. See you again next time.